The words hit me like a punch to the chest. As soon as she's done with the project, she's out, and you're in. I wasn't supposed to hear it. I had just stepped out of the conference room to grab a report from my desk. As I passed by the executive suite, the door to my boss's office was slightly ajar. It was his son speaking. Ethan, fresh out of business school, freshly groomed to be the next CEO of Horizon Dynamics, entitled Arrogant and Reckless. He was talking to his best friend, Jared, who had never set foot in the tech industry before today. Dad said it himself. Claire's just finishing the project. After that, she's history. You'll take over her role. Easy. Ethan chuckled. She doesn't even know. Poor thing still thinks she's irreplaceable. My throat tightened. For a moment, I felt paralyzed. 15 years of loyalty, of late nights, weekends sacrificed, solving problems nobody else could figure out. I had built the predictive analytics platform that now made up 70% of the company's revenue. And yet, just like that, I was disposable. But I didn't step inside. I didn't slam the door open. I didn't say a word. Not yet. Instead, I turned around, slowly, carefully, and walked back to my desk as if I'd heard nothing at all. On the surface, I was calm. Inside, my mind was a storm. My name is Claire Reynolds. I'm 47 years old. Senior Director of Systems Architecture at Horizon Dynamics, a tech company that exploded from a tiny startup to a $500 million enterprise in less than a decade. And a company I had helped build, line by line, code by code. The irony was cruel. Just last week, my boss, Ethan's father, Charles Whitman, stood in the quarterly meeting praising my work to the entire staff. Claire's leadership on the Nexus project is groundbreaking. This will define the future of Horizon Dynamics, he'd said. Everyone clapped. Ethan smiled right along with them, sitting in the front row with that smug, privileged grin. But behind closed doors? Different story. That night, I sat at my kitchen table, staring at the files spread across my laptop. The Nexus project, the most advanced AI-driven predictive engine on the market. Years of my life poured into this. The final deliverables were scheduled for 6 weeks from now, and apparently, as soon as I hit submit, I was gone. I replayed the conversation in my head over and over. Was it real? Had I misheard? Number, I knew exactly what I'd heard. She's out, and you're in. I closed my laptop slowly, took a deep breath, and for the first time in a long while, I smiled. Because what they didn't know is that I always have a backup plan. The next morning, I walked into the office like nothing had happened, smiled at the receptionist, said good morning to the marketing director in the elevator. Checked in with my team. 7 engineers I had personally hired, trained, and mentored over the years. Hey, Claire, is everything on track for the Nexus rollout? My project manager asked. Absolutely, I nodded, ahead of schedule. If only they knew. In the corner office, Ethan strutted around like he already owned the place. His father had announced just last month that he would retire at the end of the quarter, and Ethan would step in as the new CEO. Nepotism at its finest. No one dared to question it, not publicly. But the murmurs were everywhere. People whispered over coffee, traded nervous glances in meetings. No one trusted him. No one believed he was ready, but no one could stop it. A week passed, then another. I worked late every night, just as I always had. Only now, for different reasons. I wasn't building the Nexus project for them anymore. I was building it for me. What Ethan didn't realize, what Charles had never cared to check, was that the intellectual property agreements were outdated, sloppy. Horizon's legal team had never updated the ownership clauses when I transitioned from contractor to full-time employee 10 years ago. Half the architecture for Nexus, still coded under my personal license from my consultancy days, logged, documented, time-stamped. It was subtle, but critical. Without my final authentication keys, Nexus wouldn't run. Not fully, not legally, Not profitably. I sat in the back of the quarterly shareholders meeting that Friday, watching as Charles officially announced his retirement. "It's been an honor to lead Horizon Dynamics these past 20 years, he said, wiping a faux tear from his eye. "I leave you in the capable hands of my son, Ethan." The room clapped politely, some more enthusiastic than others. Ethan grinned, walking to the podium. Thank you. I'm honored. And I promise, big things are coming." I leaned back in my chair, silent, smiling. "Yes, Ethan," I thought. "Big things are coming indeed." Because Monday morning, everything would change. Monday morning arrived sharper than usual. The autumn air was crisp, the kind that stung your skin just enough to remind you that change was inescapable. Fitting, really. I stood outside Horizon Dynamics headquarters for a moment longer than usual, staring at the glass facade that reflected the rising sun. 15 years of my life were wrapped inside those walls, but not for much longer. "Game on," I whispered under my breath before swiping my badge. The lobby was buzzing. A giant banner hung above the reception desk. "Congratulations, Ethan Whitman, our new CEO." The staff stood awkwardly around the catered breakfast, half trying to look supportive, half pretending to care. The HR director gave Ethan a bouquet of flowers like he'd won a beauty pageant. I almost laughed. Ethan was in his element, shaking hands, giving fake smiles, and probably imagining himself as the next Steve Jobs. He noticed me across the room and gave me a tight, forced grin. I returned it. Polite. Neutral. Enjoy it while it lasts. By 9 a.m., the all-hands meeting started. Ethan took the stage with his signature smug confidence. "Thank you, everyone. First, I just want to say how humbled and honored I am to lead Horizon into this next chapter." He began, reading directly from the teleprompter. "We're modernizing. We're optimizing. We're streamlining." I could practically hear the buzzwords grinding together. Then came the dagger, but not directed at me. Not yet. "With this new leadership, there will be strategic adjustments," Ethan said, his tone smugly rehearsed. "Some roles may evolve. Some processes may change." Several employees exchanged uneasy glances. They knew what that meant. Cutbacks, layoffs, restructuring. My fingers tapped my notebook, perfectly calm. "Not yet. Wait." Later that afternoon, I was called into Ethan's office. "Claire," he smiled, motioning me to sit. "So, first day as CEO. Big, right?" "Huge," I nodded, masking every ounce of disdain. "Congratulations." He leaned back, fingers steepled, pretending to play CEO. "Listen, let's talk about the Nexus project. You're close to finalizing, right?" "Very close," I replied evenly. "Final testing is underway. Deployment package scheduled by the end of next week." "Perfect." His grin grew wider. "Because I've got a bold new strategy in place. Fresh leadership, younger energy. Once Nexus rolls out, we'll be shifting the technical leadership model." He didn't even have the spine to say the words outright. "Shifting my role?" I asked, letting the tension hang like a loaded gun between us. "Don't take it personal," he said, waving a hand like he was swatting a fly. "It's about vision, evolution, a new era for Horizon. Once the project's done, we're gonna go in a different direction." I nodded slowly, letting him believe I was absorbing the blow. "I see. But don't worry. HR will set you up with a very generous exit package. Dad insisted on that." "How thoughtful," I said, standing. "Anything else?" "Nope. Just keep pushing on Nexus. You've got this." I smiled politely. "Absolutely." As I closed his office door behind me, my heart wasn't racing. My palms weren't sweaty. No, it was something colder, cleaner. It was clarity. That evening, at exactly 7 p.m., I logged into my private server from home. I opened the administrative backend for Nexus, something nobody at Horizon even knew existed, because I had built it on my own time, my own hardware, my own intellectual property. I scrolled through the source code, line after line of logic, algorithms, and predictive models that had taken me 5 years to perfect. Then I opened a folder titled Failsafe. Inside were 3 files: Nexus Lockout Protocol, .exe ownership, proof.pdf audit, trail logs.zip. The proof was all there. Timestamped development logs, GitHub commits from my personal repositories, private journal entries, cloud storage receipts, all meticulously organized. A legal fortress. By Tuesday, the first cracks appeared. "Hey, Claire," Miguel, one of my senior engineers, whispered in the break room. "I heard Jared's getting promoted. To your role." "That's the rumor," I confirmed, keeping my voice steady. "He doesn't even know how the system works," Miguel hissed. "He's never written a line of code in his life." "I know," I said quietly. "Just trust me. Keep your head down for now." Because they were in for a surprise. What Ethan didn't realize was simple. Nexus didn't just require the code. It required activation keys. Keys only I controlled. Without them, the system would run in demo mode. Superficial. Limited. Useless to clients. And the clients had contracts. Contracts that explicitly required fully functional software backed by a legally filed patent, which incidentally hadn't been filed. Not by Horizon, anyway. I leaned back in my chair, fingers steepled, almost mirroring Ethan's own arrogant posture. "Tick-tock," I whispered to myself. The countdown had begun. By Friday morning, the tension inside Horizon Dynamics was like a rubber band stretched to the brink of snapping. People walked a little faster, spoke a little quieter, and avoided making eye contact with anyone from HR. Ethan was strutting through the halls like a rooster in a henhouse. Every time he passed by, people plastered on fake smiles, nodding politely while barely disguising the dread beneath. Everyone knew changes were coming. Nobody knew how deep the knife would cut. But while others whispered and worried, I sat calmly at my desk, quietly reviewing the final diagnostics on Nexus. Everything was working perfectly. For now. "Claire, quick question." Ethan's assistant popped her head into my office. "Can you send over the final deployment package to the executive server? Ethan wants to prep for Monday's product announcement." I smiled, perfectly composed. "Of course, I'll have it sent before the end of the day." What they didn't know was that the deployment package sitting on my workstation wasn't the same as the operational package. The version I was about to deliver? Fully functional. For about 72 hours. After that, the authentication check would fail. The predictive engine would throttle itself down to demo mode. Limited features, no client deliverables, no back-end support. A beautifully designed brick. By noon, Jared swaggered into the engineering floor, clearly enjoying his new role even before it was official. "Hey guys, get ready for some changes around here," he announced, leaning against a cubicle like he was in a college dorm, not a corporate office. "We're modernizing the workflow, making things more efficient." Miguel shot me a look from across the room. I gave him the smallest shake of my head. "Not yet." "Claire," Jared called over, "can you give me a rundown on how the auto-scaling functions for Nexus? I'll need to brief the board on Monday." I smiled politely. "Oh, Jared, absolutely. We can do that Monday morning before the meeting." "Perfect." He grinned, clueless. "See? Easy transition." "Oh, so easy." That afternoon, I walked into the server room one last time. Rows of machines blinked and hummed, oblivious to the drama unfolding outside their walls. I connected my encrypted drive and ran a final sync. My personal logs, my development history, my schematics. Everything mirrored, backed up, and time-stamped. Then I opened the master control terminal, typed in a single line of code. The cursor blinked. Command accepted, fail-safe engaged, countdown initiated. The corner of my mouth twitched upward. It's done. That evening, as the office emptied out, I stood by the window overlooking the city skyline. 15 years of my life were woven into this place. And now, I was walking away, but not before teaching them what happens when you treat people like they're disposable. Monday arrived like a storm front. Ethan bounded onto the main stage of the quarterly product launch, packed with shareholders, journalists, and clients. The whole atrium had been transformed into a glittering showcase. Screens displayed massive graphics of the Nexus platform. Today marks the future of Horizon Dynamics, Ethan announced, grinning from ear to ear. Our revolutionary Nexus system will redefine predictive analytics. Applause. Cameras flashed. Investors smiled. I stood in the back of the room, unseen, arms crossed, watching. Ethan clicked his remote. The giant screen behind him came alive. Charts, graphs, live demo feeds. The demo worked flawlessly. Of course it did. The failsafe wasn't scheduled to trigger yet. Effective immediately, Ethan continued. Claire Reynolds, our systems director, will be stepping down as we transition leadership to a newer, leaner model. There it was. Public. Final. His move. I didn't flinch. Didn't react. Not even a blink. After the event, as the crowd thinned, I made my way to my office. My badge still worked. For now. HR had scheduled my exit interview for Tuesday morning. Inside, I carefully packed my belongings, a few framed photos, my coffee mug that said, "Code like a girl," the little award the company had given me 3 years ago when Nexus first launched as a prototype. There was a knock. Marissa from HR peeked in. Hey, Claire, just wanted to check if you're... Okay. You've been really composed about all this. I'm fine, I said softly, sealing a box. It's just business, right? She hesitated, then gave a weak smile. Right, just business. As I walked toward the elevator with my box in hand, Ethan strolled by, clapping Jared on the back. Told you it'd be smooth, bro, he said. Easy. She didn't even put up a fight. I stepped into the elevator, turned slowly, and caught Ethan's gaze just as the doors slid shut. I smiled. A real smile. Tick-tock, I whispered as the numbers counted down. Because in less than 72 hours, the world as Ethan knew it would shatter. Wednesday morning started like any other. Or so they thought. The Horizon Dynamics headquarters buzzed with energy. Ethan walked the halls with that familiar swagger, high-fiving Jared and nodding at passing employees like he was some kind of Silicon Valley king. His tailored suit was sharp, his smile sharper. Today's the day Nexus goes fully live, he announced to the operations team, loud enough for anyone nearby to hear. We are about to show the world what leadership looks like. I wasn't there, of course. My exit interview had wrapped the day before. My badge was deactivated. My email, wiped. My name erased from the company directory like I'd never existed. Or so they thought. At exactly 9 a.m., the first warning hit. The operations team flagged a server authentication error. Nexus's back-end systems weren't syncing properly with the client dashboards. We're seeing anomalies, the lead engineer reported over Slack. Data feeds are throttling, load balancers are hitting limits. Weird. Must be a bug, Jared replied, completely clueless. Just reboot it. They did. Twice. Nothing changed. By 10:15 a.m., clients started calling. Confused. Annoyed. Our predictive models aren't generating new reports. Why are our dashboards frozen? Is this a maintenance window? No one informed us. Panic hadn't set in yet. Not quite, but it was close. At 11:02 a.m., the failsafe fully triggered. Every instance of Nexus connected to a client account displayed a flashing banner. Error 403, unauthorized license activation. Contact the software owner to restore functionality. Dashboards went dark. Predictive tools stopped working. Financial models failed mid-process. Then came the email blast. Automated. Precise. Sent from my attorney's office to every single Nexus client. This is to notify you that the predictive analytics software Nexus currently deployed at your company contains proprietary technology under patent owned by Claire Reynolds. Horizon Dynamics does not hold a valid license to this software. Any continued use without proper licensing constitutes infringement. Attached were the patent documents, time-stamped logs, source code lineage, and a link to a licensing inquiry form directed to my lawyer. Inside Horizon's executive suite, chaos erupted. "What the hell is going on?" Ethan roared, slamming his fist on the conference table. "Why is Nexus offline? Fix it, now!" We're trying, sir," stammered the CTO. "But the authentication keys, they're invalid. The system's locked." "Well, get the backup online." There is no backup. Nexus requires the keychain Claire controlled. Without it, "Call her," Ethan bellowed. "Get her on the phone right now." We can't. Her number was scrubbed when HR processed her exit. Then UNSCRUBIT, Ethan yelled, face turning crimson. This is sabotage. By 1 p.m., Horizon's biggest clients were demanding answers. "If this isn't fixed in an hour, we're pulling our contracts." "This is unacceptable. You promised full functionality. Your product is useless right now. We want refunds." Investors started calling next. The stock, once steady, dipped 4% in an hour. News outlets noticed. By 2 p.m., the headlines hit the industry feeds. Horizon Dynamics suffers massive system outage. Nexus clients impacted globally. Rumors swirl of patent dispute between Horizon and former director. While all this was unfolding, I sat at a cozy coffee shop downtown. My phone vibrated nonstop. Texts, emails, LinkedIn pings. Miguel messaged first. "Claire, what did you do?" I smirked, typed back, "Check your personal email." He did. 30 seconds later. "Is this real? Are these job offers?" "Every one of you. Senior roles, 30% salary increase, full benefits, with a company that actually respects you." "When do we start?" "Monday, if you want." "Hell yes." Meanwhile, back at Horizon, Ethan was pacing like a caged animal. "Get legal in here. Get whoever," he shouted. "We'll sue her. We'll call the police. This is theft." But legal had bad news. Very bad news. "Ethan, we've reviewed the contracts. 10 years ago, when Claire transitioned from contractor to employee, the IP clause wasn't properly updated. Anything she developed independently technically doesn't belong to Horizon." "What?" "And the patent. It's in her name. Fully approved. Ironclad. She owns the algorithm. The architecture? Without it, Nexus doesn't function." Ethan went dead silent, pale, completely, utterly pale. No. This can't be happening." It was, and it wasn't over yet. At 3:17 p.m., my lawyer sent the final email. Subject line simple, devastating. "Cease and desist, unauthorized use of proprietary software." The message was clear. Either Horizon entered into a licensing agreement at a cost 3 times market rate, or the software stayed dark. Permanently. And just like that, the future Ethan had smugly imagined for himself disintegrated. By Thursday morning, Horizon Dynamics was in full meltdown. The polished glass walls, once symbols of success and innovation, now reflected pure chaos. Investors were furious. Clients were livid. Employees were terrified. The first thing Ethan saw when he stepped out of the executive elevator that morning was the finance director storming toward him, phone in hand, face flushed. "We just lost Delta Corp." "What do you mean lost?" Ethan snapped. "Canceled the contract. Effective immediately. They cited breach of operational guarantees." Their words. Before Ethan could process it, the head of client success ran over. 3 more clients are threatening legal action if Nexus isn't operational by noon." "This is extortion," Ethan yelled. "We are the victims here." But no one was listening anymore. Not really. Not even his own executive team. By 10 a.m., the board called an emergency meeting. Remote members dialed in. Others sat stiffly around the oversized glass table, faces grim. "Ethan," began Richard Donovan, the board chairman, his voice sharp. "What is the current status of Nexus?" Ethan tugged at his tie. It's a licensing misunderstanding. Claire Reynolds has filed a fully enforceable patent." Richard cut him off. "I've reviewed the filings myself. The IP is legally hers." "But we can fix it," Ethan stammered. We'll code around it. Build a new version from scratch." The CTO cleared his throat. "That isn't possible. Not in any reasonable time frame. Claire's algorithm is the backbone of Nexus. It would take years to recreate. At least 2, maybe 3. 3 years? Richard echoed, incredulous. Our largest revenue stream disappears for 3 years, while clients sue us? While investors pull out? "We can negotiate," Ethan mumbled. "We can convince her." "Oh, she's open to negotiations," the CFO said dryly, sliding a printed email across the table. "Her lawyer's terms came in this morning." Ethan skimmed it, his hands trembling. Triple the standard licensing rate, immediate payment for backdated usage, public acknowledgement of Claire Reynolds as the sole inventor of the Nexus architecture, a formal written apology from Horizon Dynamics for misrepresentation of IP ownership. His vision blurred. "No, she wouldn't." "She did." The CFO confirmed. "And if we refuse, she will pursue an injunction to legally block any use of the software. Permanently." Silence. Heavy, suffocating silence. This isn't fair," Ethan croaked. "She sabotaged us." "No," Richard said coldly, folding his hands. "She protected herself. Something you and your father clearly failed to do when you decided to replace her with this." He gestured in disgust toward Jared, who sat shrinking in his chair, wishing he could vanish. "This is catastrophic," the head of legal muttered. "The stock's already down 18%. If we don't act fast, it's only going to get worse." "Ethan," Richard's voice sharpened, "pack your things. The board is convening this afternoon to vote on your removal as CEO." "What? No, you can't do this. Watch us." As Horizon imploded from the inside, I was across town, sitting in my lawyer's office overlooking the waterfront. A pot of fresh coffee steamed between us. "It's official," my lawyer smiled. "They've agreed to meet. Their counsel called 10 minutes ago, total surrender. They want to avoid court." "Of course they do," I replied, sipping my coffee. "Court would mean public filings, depositions, headlines." "Exactly. Here are the updated terms." I scanned the documents. In addition to the licensing fees and public acknowledgement, there was now an added clause. Claire Reynolds has the right to audit Horizon Dynamics' use of Nexus at any time. Oh, the poetic beauty of that. "Send it," I said. "But give them 24 hours. I want them to sit in it." Miguel messaged me that afternoon. "It's happening." "What is?" I asked, pretending not to know. "Emergency town hall. Word is Ethan's getting booted. Jared too. People are freaking out. Updating LinkedIn like mad." "How's morale?" "Honestly, half terrified, half thrilled. A lot of people hated working under those two." "Good. Let them know they have options." "Our offers still stand?" "Every one of them. Monday start date if they want." "Done. I'll spread the word." At 3 p.m., Horizon's internal comms sent a company-wide announcement. Effective immediately, Ethan Whitman is stepping down as CEO of Horizon Dynamics. The board has appointed Richard Donovan as interim CEO while we navigate this transition. We will be making further statements soon. Cue the flood of whispers, the frantic Slack messages, the stunned faces. For the first time in a decade, Horizon Dynamics, the company I had poured my life into, was forced to reckon with the truth. Innovation isn't disposable. People aren't replaceable. And arrogance always has a price. As the sun set behind the skyline, my phone chimed with one last email. From Richard Donovan. Claire, I believe we have much to discuss regarding a licensing agreement. Please let me know when you are available. I smiled. Not triumphant, not vengeful, just satisfied. Let's talk, I typed back. Because this was far from over. By Friday morning, the ripple effects of Horizon Dynamics' collapse had spread through the entire industry like wildfire. Tech news outlets exploded with headlines. CEO ousted amid IP crisis at Horizon Dynamics. Former director's patent brings $500 million firm to its knees. Claire Reynolds, the woman who outplayed Horizon. Everywhere I looked, Twitter, LinkedIn, industry newsletters, my name was there. Not hidden behind the title project lead or technical support like before. My name, in bold, attached to the algorithm I had built with my own hands. After a decade of being treated like an afterthought, I was finally visible. At precisely 10 a.m., I stepped into the boardroom at Donovan & Associates, flanked by my attorney on one side and the head of the IP law firm on the other. Across the polished table sat Horizon's interim CEO, Richard Donovan, their lead counsel, and a visibly nervous CFO. No Ethan. No Jared. They were already history. Thank you for meeting with us, Claire, Richard began, steepling his fingers. Let's get right to it. He slid a packet across the table. We agree to your terms, full licensing fees, backdated payments, ongoing royalties, public acknowledgement of your sole ownership of the Nexus algorithm. I opened the folder. Skimmed. It was everything I asked for. And more. There's one addition, Richard continued. As part of our restructuring, we'd like to formally offer you the position of Chief Technology Officer at Horizon Dynamics. I blinked. Excuse me? You're the architect of our most valuable product. Frankly, Claire, this company should have been built around you from the beginning. A strange silence hung in the air. Not tense, not hostile, just heavy. For a brief moment, I let the idea roll around in my mind. I could walk back in, on my terms, run the show, fire the people who once treated me like I was disposable. But then, I smiled. Richard, I appreciate the offer, truly, but no. No? No. I folded the contract neatly. Horizon had 15 years to treat me like I mattered. You don't get a second chance at that. His face flickered with disappointment, but also understanding. I figured you might say that. But the licensing deal? That stands. You'll pay for the use of Nexus. Fairly, fully, and publicly acknowledge that the system belongs to me. He nodded. Done. We've already prepared the press release. By noon, the headlines updated again. Horizon Dynamics secures emergency licensing deal with Nexus creator Claire Reynolds. Tech pioneer declines CTO role, cites respect over revenge. My phone blew up. Congratulations poured in from old colleagues, former classmates, even people I hadn't spoken to in years. But the message that hit hardest? Miguel. We're in. Me, Tanya, Luis, Andre. All of us. Sign the offers. We start Monday. Thank you. For everything. I smiled, leaning back in my chair. No, Miguel. Thank you. For believing. That evening, I stood on the balcony of my new office at Vanguard Technologies, the startup I'd quietly joined as Chief Innovation Officer weeks ago. The ink was still drying on the contracts that would officially make us the sole distributor of Nexus moving forward. Vanguard had offered me something Horizon never did. Full creative control, a seat at the table, and the respect I had always deserved. As the sun dipped below the city skyline, an email notification popped up on my phone. From Ethan. Claire, I don't even know where to begin. Look, I was young, stupid. I thought I was doing what my dad wanted. I didn't think you'd... Anyway, I wanted to say, you win. Congratulations. I stared at it for a long moment, hovered my fingers over the keyboard. Then, I deleted it, unread. Some things didn't deserve a response. A year to the day since I walked out of Horizon for the last time, Vanguard Technologies officially surpassed Horizon Dynamics in market valuation. The headlines read, "From Betrayed to Billionaire, How Claire Reynolds Changed the Game." Standing in my corner office overlooking the city, Miguel walked in carrying a bottle of champagne. "Happy anniversary, boss." He grinned. I laughed. "To recognition. To knowing your worth." And we clinked glasses.